Putin comes out looking like a Russian Superman. Obama comes out embarrassed. NATO is scrambling to decide exactly what it needs to do to say to Russia, okay, this far and no further. Ukraine says, we don't want to be a part of NATO. There's a lot to talk about today. Let's start with the very simple fact that Crimea has now been absorbed into Russia. It is now officially a part of Russia. Putin gave, from all commentators that I've seen, a fairly compelling speech to his own parliament in which he focused on history and the double standard that Western nations are employing concerning Crimea coming back to Russia, and the fact that Kosovo, a few years ago, after Yugoslavia broke up, the Kosovo was able to have its own referendum to be a free nation, and that NATO allies sent troops there to ensure that they would be able to have the vote. Russia said, look, you can't call something black one day and white another day. I want you to understand, I am not in any manner, shape, or form a protagonist for Putin or for Russia. But my job as a news broadcaster and as a commentator is to call balls and strikes as they actually are, not like I would wish them to be, okay? And the simple fact is that Crimea has a long history with Russia. They do. And with the deep water port at Sevastopol, there is no way that Russia is going to allow Crimea to be in the hands of a hostile government. They're just not. You realize that there is a referendum coming up in Quebec, okay? Can you imagine if Quebec secedes from Canada and then it starts a domino effect, and maybe British Columbia on the west coast of Canada says, well, we would like to become Russia Columbia. We're going to secede and we're going to form closer ties with Russia. So imagine if Quebec and Russia, rather Quebec and British Columbia, both said, we want to have some type of military alliance with Russia. We're going to allow Russia to put troops here. We're going to allow Russia to put naval bases here. We're going to allow Russia to put airfields here. We're going to allow Russia to have mobile missiles here. Do you think that the United States is going to let that happen? Even if the people of Quebec and British Columbia want it to happen? Well, anyway, Ukraine has stated that it is not going to seek NATO membership. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization was founded in 1949 to have a confederacy of the victorious allies to stand against the Soviet Union. After World War II, tragically, President Roosevelt allowed Stalin to gobble up nations, the Baltic states, Poland, other nations, and East Germany, obviously. And the Allies woke up and thought, oh my goodness, Stalin is a monster, and the goal of the Soviet Union is to spread communism and to turn free peoples into slave states. So they created NATO. The Cold War lasted for 40 plus years until the disintegration of the Soviet Union in 1991. At that time, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, ultimately all of those former Soviet satellite nations became a part of NATO. Now, NATO is obliged to protect them militarily. So the Brits are actually sending a small handful of high-tech fighters into the Baltic states right now. There are discussions with Poland on making Poland a significant military force so that it could fend off Russia if it needed to, in the beginning stages while the other NATO allies came along to her aid. I've got to take a break. When we come back, I want to talk to you about that borders are not sacrosanct. Borders are not sacred, okay? Now, some of you are going to think I'm nuts, but just hear me out, okay? Borders are not sacred. And I want to discuss what idiot at the White House or in Foggy Bottom with our U.S. foreign policy, what idiot proposed to have the list of 11 people that are now sanctioned by the U.S. government? I actually was angry. It made Obama look like a fool, and I'm still an American. I don't want our president to look like a fool, even if he is one. This is the voice of resistance.